Yeah, that one. You know, you can't delete, you can't remove it. It picks it up.
It's okay.
Yeah, but uh, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. I'm speaking with a Belgian musician, producer, composer, and writer, and extraordinaire, talent extraordinaire, Jean-Marc Lederman.
We can go, yeah, we can quit the interview now. It's too many adjectives already. Well, just one, but a bit too overwhelming, you know.
Oh, it's so true. I'm really grateful that you're doing this interview with me. As you know, um, I first your name came up when I was doing an interview with Emileigh Rohn from Chiasm, and
Absolutely.
she spoke very highly of you, and
thank you, Emileigh.
and I know she's watching. She's gonna be watching. I mean, if everybody's tuned in, I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is actually
there's a video also.
That?
Damn. Okay, go on.
Yeah, so it's gonna be, if people are watching this on YouTube, it's also on my podcast and also on the Queen of Wands radio show on Modsnap Radio. My name is DJ Nocturna, and I've got the amazing Jean-Marc Lederman here. But like I said, Emileigh Rohn spoke very highly of you, and I know you collaborated with her in some tracks.
Well, it's more than a track. It's very long. It's very long album because it's a 1 hour album.
Oh yeah,
which come out on Cup International in September.
Yeah, that one. Okay, yeah, that's a new one. But in the previous, you've worked with her. You remixed her. Are You Okay? Intertwine.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then you have one coming up, which I'm really excited to talk a little bit about. But before we do that, I just want to mention that you are an amazing. I love it.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that.
do I need to get one of those too? Okay, let's see.
Well.
I like that one. Yeah.
It's blue, right? It's blue.
Yeah. I gotta say good evening because it's good morning here. I know it's good evening there.
Yeah, this is why I'm a little bit silly, At 8 a.m. I wouldn't be as silly as now, that's for sure.
It's okay. Yeah, so I know you do so many things. You write music for movies and video games, and you have your own albums, and you were part of several bands in the past, right? You've done you've worked with Fad Gadgets, Matt Johnson of Da, Gene Loves Jezebel, and so many artists that you collaborated with in several albums that you've done for so many. And you seem to be doing it like every year almost, like 2 a year, three a year.
For the moment, thanks to COVID, I'm doing two instrumental album a year plus one album with singles. Yeah, but I mean, we all have time, and this is what I do. I'm a composer. I'm a creative person, so I compose and I create.
And then you have a new album coming out. It's a novel. It's a concept album. It's called The Mysterious Manuscript of Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it started as an idea, a pitch for a movie, which I gave to a friend who works in the industry. And he said, oh, that's really nice. Why don't you develop the idea and make it something like 2 pages? So I made 2 pages, and it took me 5 different versions of it before he said, yes, that's good. So why don't you develop it now in 12 pages? So I took a few months to do that. And it was also my 5th version before he said, yeah, this is really nice. Now you can send it to production's house, movie production's house. And I did send it to 10 production house who usually do, strange projects or interesting projects, not romantic movies or big blockbuster movies, really alternative production house. And I've got absolutely no answers. So I thought, okay, this is going to die on my hard disk, or I can do something with it and I can develop it and make it a long novel. So I developed it. It took me about 4 months, and I wrote it. I wrote what was a pitch, then a synopsis, and now a novel. and I wrote the music, which was supposed to maybe come with the movie. So I'm glad that came out, and I self-released it, self-printed, and people were really happy with it. Although I found out later on that it was very difficult to have reviews, because when you review a CD, it's quite, again, air quotes, it's quite simple, because you put the CD and you think about it and you write notes and you can listen to it again. When it's for a book, it's far more complex, because it's two operations. And so I've got absolutely no review for that book either. But it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm used to that. I'm used to separate the creative process, for which I need to be 100% happy, and the business process, which is most of the time outside of my reach anyway. So I don't really care. I mean, I care when I release something on a label and the label doesn't get the money back, but they often do, so it doesn't really matter. But it doesn't make me rich, but I'm rich inside, because I created the work and I'm happy with it, and I lived with the story, whether it's an album, a concept album, or whether it's a book. So for me, it's Opération Réussie.
So this is a fiction, right?
It is a fiction. Well, it's the story of 3 musicians of different age and different culture who meet through a mysterious manuscript that's supposed to be written by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So you have Victor, who's a 24 years old rapper from Mexico. You have Veronica, who's a 44 years old classical musician from New York. And you have Vincent, who's a 64 years old composer from Paris. And they meet through that mysterious and magical book. And well, I mean, if you want, it's available as Kindle, or people can write to me and I can send it to them, or it's available actually with the music on Bandcamp.
Yeah, because the music is beautiful, very beautiful.
Thank you.
And, so did you write the novel first, or the music first? How did that go about?
Oh yeah, I wrote the book first, and then I did the music afterwards. Yeah.
Oh.
But it was very interesting, because I needed, I really only wanted to make the music for 10 different scenes. So I had to discipline myself and choose 10 scenes. And then I had to find a different coloring for each scene. I mean, being a musician or being a composer is just fascinating, you're there and you're playing with things that are out in the air and that nobody sees and nobody hears, unless you are happy with it and you release it.
So you mentioned in this particular album that you're a bad musician but a good composer. What is that? What do you mean by that?
I'm really a bad musician. Yeah, I mean, I can't read one note of music. I can't make one chord. I'm really bad. Although when I'm relaxed at home and I have to record something, I'm quite okay with timing and stuff. But as a musician, as a pure, clean musician, I'm really bad. But I think I'm a good composer, yeah. Because I've done so many different type of things. All of them I loved, except New Beat. And so I get something out of everything I do. I learn. So I'm, after decades of work as a composer, I have technique, of course.
Yeah.
Plus, I've got exactly the tools I need. I mean, in 2021, with all the tools that are available, if you can't make music, just forget it. Is that you're not good. Just get out of the way, because it's all there. I mean, I used to, I started making music in an era where you couldn't record something if it wasn't in a recording studio. And you had to beg the record company to give you some money to go and doing demos, not even the album or the single, demos. And then they would say, okay, that's good enough. Now you're going in the studio in a real studio. Now, for what was the price of 2 recording days in studio at the time, you can have an iMac and you can have a few libraries and a few synthesizer plugins and stuff like that, and you can make what's happening in your brain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know you started out long time ago in a punk band.
Yeah.
yeah, called Streets back in the 70s, it's in the 70s. And then you worked with like I said, several musicians, Fad Gadgets, Matt Johnson of Zaza, and Gene Loves Jezebel. And I know you have some tracks with Jay Aston.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I love those collaborations with these guys. You know, they because all of them have a voice. They have a very interesting voice that you when you listen to it, you just know who they are. And um and I like that you did this with John Luke. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love that track. You know, flowers and birds and bees. And I've never heard him sing anything like that before.
But actually, it's funny because I've got the T-shirt here.
Oh yeah,
So, yeah. So yeah, for Le Domaine de Meyer, Jean-Luc and
yeah, that's
myself.
a nice T-shirt.
Yeah, thank you. Jean-Luc and myself did an album. I know Jean-Luc for a long time because I worked for 4 years as front to photo personal assistant.
Oh yeah,
At the
wow.
era of Religion and the Fuck Off album, the two double albums.
Wow.
I mean, we've been friends for a long, long time. And
Yeah,
we always wanted
you
to
live in
do
the same
that, but
place.
we found the space to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's also in the latest album, but Frontline Assembly, the Barbarians, which I really like that track. And you know, I never heard him sing anything like this. I can hear the lyrics really well, and I love the lyrics. Who wrote the lyrics for that one?
Well, I mean, he wrote the vocal melodies and the lyrics and everything, and I think he was satisfied with the absolute no pressure that was on the album because we don't have outside producer, we didn't have a label, so we could do exactly what we wanted, and we did. And I think he was very happy because he could find some peace in the process, which he doesn't have often because when you are the singer front 242, the pressure is big, of course.
Are you going to be? Do you plan on working with him on more stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, we've got a couple of songs already done, and actually, I wrote a song for him yesterday.
Oh, okay. Wow. And you know, I like I mentioned, you collaborate with all these different artists. I know one of them is Emileigh Rohn. Letters from Emileigh Rohn. That's the album Letters to Gods and Fallen Angels that you released last year. That's one of the releases you did last year with several other people in the track. That's another one. So how did you, you know, I know she told me how you guys, I'm trying to remember if she told me how you guys met, but I know you collaborated with her and you did her remixes, but that's not how you met, right? Or
No, actually, we met through Rex Arcana. I asked him if he knew singers in the States because I wanted to go outside my comfort zone and not asking the same people I know. And he said, well, you should check Emileigh Rohn from the band Chiasm. And I checked it and I like it. And so I asked her if she would be game to do a song for the Letters to Girls and Fallen Angels. And she did, and it was brilliant because she's very flexible. She was very flexible with her way of working with me because she sang on one song, and then we ended up doing a completely different song below the vocals, and she was really cool with that. And yeah, I mean, this is why we made an album afterwards because we're very comfortable with each other. Doing music is just pleasure.
And I know that album, Letters to God and Fallen Angels, also had Jay Aston in there from Gene Loves Jezebel, Elena Alice Fossey from Killing Camera, which I love that particular. There's 2 tracks. I actually featured it today on the ModSnap on Queen of Wands ModSnap radio.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then you got Tom Shear from Assemblies 23 in there, as well as Klaus Larson, and just great singers, amazing artists in here in the collaborate. And then you have another one, 13 Ghost Stories, which Elena Alice Fossey is in that one too.
Yeah, that was the one previously. That was the one which was independent and came out in 2019. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got Yvette Winkler on The Darkest Secret, which is also in that album, which you know, ironically, she also collaborated with Martin Bose from Attrition. They have a new song called The Alibi, which is amazing, and Martin would be a guest on the show as well. But how do you find these artists? You just pick them because it's something that they. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well,
It really depends. One of the ideas is that the people I call are going to be in an environment that is not usual to them.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
Because
like
most of the time they are composers themselves. So I come to them with a concept, I come to them with an idea, with a kind of short amount of time that they can do the work with. And they find themselves with music they're not always used to, because my music isn't electropop, it's not future pop, it's not EBM, it's not industrial, and it's not lounge either. So sometimes we kind of, oh, what's that? But they all really play the game. And the way I found them is I listen to quite a lot of music, but I listen to very short extracts.
yeah.
Like somebody tells me about this singer and I go and check it. And I usually give it 1 minute, to be honest. And I'm sorry for the people that don't go, but it's important for me to have a direct answer, a direct feedback from what their voice does to me. Then I have to imagine in the rest of the minute how that could fit in the songs that I could write to them. So that's how it goes.
You know, you must be a Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds fan, because you also got some covers there with where the wild roses grow, and
Absolutely, yeah.
Into My Arms, yeah, which is beautiful covers, and which they can find
Thank
at La
you.
Femme Verte, the Small Distortion, which you released in 2017, and you also got a Lou Reed cover there, which I really like. Um, oh, you do so many amazing things. I mean, people want to find you, they can go to your website, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
jmlederman.com.
Absolutely.
Then they can also find you on Bandcamp, and then you just signed up with Comp International. Big shout out to Christian from Comp International.
Hello,
Yeah,
Christine.
and I know I hope he's watching. I know he's gonna be watching, because he's gonna know that you're on, and he's gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna tune in." And you know, he's always interesting. You ever see his
Should have told me that you should have told me that it was going to be filmed. I would have gone for a perm, you know. But anyway.
No, I should have made like some some pastry, because you ever see his delectable pastries that he puts on
Oh God, yeah, I think that's total porn. Actually, I think it should be forbidden to post that.
So how did you connect with must be through Emileigh, right? How did you connect with
Absolutely. When we finished, when after Letters to Gods, I mailed Emileigh and asked her if she was interested in doing a different kind of a project with more beat oriented music. Not rap, but using the beat and just being totally outside of the industrial mold, and using brass and using Fender Rhodes and stuff like that, just enjoying ourselves. So we did 5 songs, and we thought, yeah, why not trying with Cop International? We may like it. And Christian did like it, especially after I told him that I will try to remix them in a more industrial fashion, I would say.
Yeah.
And he liked what he heard, so this is it. And yeah, so there's one album coming out in September.
September. Are you going to be releasing some singles before that?
Yeah, there's an EP, Watch Out EP, that's come out in July, with remixes from Klaus Larsen, Tom Shear, Mark Huggins from Mesh. And there's one remix that Christian did, which will be out in, well, I can't tell you that. It'll be out too.
Well, we're looking forward to featuring that here on Mod Snap Radio. And I'm looking forward to that. I've been waiting for that album, you know, really. I'm like, okay. That's why, you know, I know we've been planning a date for this interview, you know, and so I think right now would be good since we're talking about it. And if anybody is listening and watching, you're gonna check this out, you know, coming out, John. So it's gonna be called the what is it gonna be called? The Rohn-Lederman.
Yeah, it's called Rohn-Lederman. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very imaginative. Yes, we know, but it's called Rohn-Lederman, and I can give you the name of the album, whatever. Anyway, it's called Venus Chariot.
Venus.
Yeah, sorry for the accent. It's called Venus Chariot. Le
Venus,
Chariot de Venus. Yeah.
like Venus.
Venus like the goddess. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Well, that's resonating with me already. I'll tell you that. Yeah. So,
Well,
congratulations.
it's an extremely special album. It's an
Yeah.
album which is nothing like you've heard before, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm
It's
sure.
it's an open wound. It's an open wound, and we wanted it that way. It's fragile like life. It's emotive like life, and it goes. Sometimes it's chaotic. Sometimes it's very organized. The ups and downs, and I think people will be kind of wondering what they just heard, and I like that idea, and I know that Emileigh does too. We're very proud of that album.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I can't wait. I already know. I'm getting the, what they call it, in Hawaii they call it chicken skin. In America they call it goosebumps. I don't know what they call it in
Yeah,
Belgium.
well, yeah, chills, no? Chills. In French we call that frisson.
Oh, okay.
Which is funny because frisson at the same time is the kind of feeling you have when you are scared. So, but
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. But I'm not scared in any way, but I'm just, just the chills, So have you lived in France?
No, actually, I'm Belgian. Just
Yeah,
people
okay,
assume
okay.
that because you speak French and you have a French name that you're French, but no, I'm a proud Belgian.
I know
And,
you were born and raised there, right? But then you moved to England.
Yeah, I moved to England. I moved to
and-
Africa too, and but I came back to Brussels after I've been called to do some recordings, and then I stayed and developed several projects, as in the Weathermen.
Yes, the Weathermen. That's another band you were involved in for quite a while, back in the day, as well as yeah, you have a long, I have to get my Roman scroll to see what all the stuff you've done. That's why I have to look over here because there's so many things, and you're very talented and you've done so many different things. And the music is great.
This is what artists do. They create, they produce. They do the stuff for which they're really, I wouldn't say design, but because I don't believe in that, but the thing they're really good at. And for me, it's first it's to make something really pleasurable and interesting and captivating for my partners and me, or me if I do something instrumental, and then the label because I like the collaboration with the label. And then if the crowd loves it, that's win-win for everyone.
Yeah, and then you also have another album, The Helpless Voyage of the Titanic, which you also released last year.
Did I? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes.
Was that last year? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yes, I did. So that's an instrumental album. That's what I do when I don't do the projects with singles, because it's extremely complicated on the logistical point of view. When you make projects with 23 different singles, I can tell you it's a nightmare. So when I do the instrumental albums, it's just me, and that's much easier, although the quality level I discipline myself to obtain is really high. So I'm not always happy with what I do, and it's hard work. You need a lot of discipline, but then why not? And yeah, The Helpless Voyage of the Titanic recalls the story of the Titanic from the beginning, really the beginning, like you can hear the beginning of the dogs and the sirens and everything, and the boat goes to sea, and everything that happens in the boats, the dance hall where all the rich people could go and dance, but also the dreams of the people on the third deck below, that weren't allowed to even go and to have some fresh air. And then you have the catastrophe and everything. And so yeah, that was quite something to do. There was some forward from Brooke Calder from Minneapolis also. I made movies about that, and I made 2 shows with it. Yeah.
So well, what's in the future? Do you have anything? I know it's too. I mean, I know you're gonna do 2 more next year and 3 more the following year.
I don't know. Yeah, I've got an album coming out in a few days that has the most special cover you can imagine. Nobody does it, and nobody does it anymore. Let's be honest. Nobody does it anymore. And it's the cover is funny and really original. The music is funny because it has a concept which is very, very special, which people will know about it early September. Then there's the album with Emileigh, the Rohn-Lederman Venus Chariot album in September, and another album on Cup International for later in October, but I can't say too much about it now.
You know, I'm gonna ask you a really weird question, but what about are you thinking of ever doing like a disco album?
I think every song I do is a disco song, to be honest.
Well,
just depends what you put on top of it. But why do you ask?
Because I like disco, and also because I know you did I Will Survive. There's a song, you know, there's a cover, right? I Will Survive. That's
Absolutely.
why
But it's a really, I mean, it's when you hear that version, you wonder if I really did survive, because it's such a sad version when the song is so not up, but high energy, you know. Yeah, I mean, I love disco. Disco was around the time when I began to be aware musically.
Yeah.
Mid 70s. And I always have been extremely aware of Black music. Yes. Because funnily enough, in the early 70s, if you didn't like guitar, life wasn't very funny. Because all you had were bands like Sweet and other stuff like that. And it was male, macho, strutting music with guitars. And I hated that. And one of the reasons I like Black music is that I was beginning to be into synthesizer. You know, every time I heard a very weird sound, I was looking at it and it's a synthesizer. So I began to look into it. But early 70s, all you had were guitar bands or prog rock. And there were some synthesizer in prog rock, but it was interesting. But in Black music, you had many synthesizers already. The first albums, well, not the first, but the very big album of Stevie Wonder were made with Tonto, Malcolm Cecil and Marc Boulez on the huge Tonto synthesizer system. And so if you wanted to hear synthesizer outside of prog rock in the early 70s, you had to listen to Black music. And this is how I got to be quite aware of what was happening on that scene. So disco came, this mid 70s, and it was really interesting. It was a hedonist white people's music, but at the beginning taken away from the Black music, in fact. So that was quite interesting to see. And then came the clash with punk, which kind of broke all the rules, and which is what I loved about it.
Yeah.
Because when punk came about, the idea was that you can do it yourself if you want to. And that was the click that made me say, okay, I can dream about being a musician and playing synthesizer, or I can do it. And I went to work on a building site and went to buy my first synthesizer with the money I won with my work on the building site.
Wow. Like I said, you have so many things going on. You also got video games. I know. Are you still doing a lot of that? I know you've been doing that.
No. I came into video games quite early in 1995. Actually, I did one of the big first game, which was Virtual Rally, a video game made by a company called Infogram, which was one of the biggest at the time. And I've got a call from that French company. And the producer was saying, have you got a few minutes? Can I say the story about that? Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. I've got the guy on the phone and say, yeah, I really want you to make some music for French video games. And I want you to do it like Trent Reznor. I love Trent Reznor. And I literally looked at the phone at the time and I just said, you really mean Trent Reznor or Nine Inch Nails? That type of heavy industrial violent music? Yeah, I really like it. It will go great in the video game. So I made him a few tracks for the game Virtual Rally, and it was not a copycat of Nine Inch Nails because I can't. He's too good. But it was in that kind of area. And I sent the tracks to the video game producer, and he didn't reply.
Oh,
And I send him again, and yeah, I call him or something like this. And eventually I got him on the phone and he said, yes, the big boss fingers, maybe it's a bit too much. And so the music wasn't taken on, one of the first video games, and they put some really bad hard rock band music on it. So anyway, to cut the long story short, I came into video games when video games were quite new.
mhm.
And people I work with really liked it because my sound is quite cinematic.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
And they really, people can really relate directly to the heavy images happening to them. And I loved doing video games because the effect of music is already big, but the effect of music with image is unbelievable. And I personally love it as a composer when I can do that. So I did quite a few, and then people started to hear about the niche of video games for composer, and lots of composers from the East began to do it, and the market just crumbled. And now you can't do it anymore unless you're in the AAA games, but it's very complicated to get there.
I know, but that's amazing that you did quite a few. A number.
Yeah, I did about 20 or 25, and a few were hits, so that's always nice. But it has changed so much since the pay for nothing model. Like now you can download a game and you play for free for hours and hours. And if you want to buy it, you can buy it and you get special colors or codes or whatever in the game. But it means that many people download the games, play the games, but don't buy it. And when you do that, you don't get paid. I did the music for video games about 3 years ago, and it was downloaded 300,000 times because it was on Amazon, one of the biggest games at the time. But nobody bought it. So in fact, you do the job and you get absolutely nothing out of it, although you have the pleasure to have done it. But
Wow. Well, I'm really looking forward to the new album coming out on Comp International with Emileigh Rohn, and the next one that you're talking about in the later part of the year. And if anybody wanted to check this out, they can go to Comp International website, as well as your website, which is jmlederman.com. Any other way to reach out to you?
no, that's the easiest way.
Bandcamp. You're also on Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, yeah.
Your music, your amazing, very talented collaborations that you've done in music, and and of course the mysterious manuscript of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which is just an amazing novel music CD, which is released in April. And yeah, wow. Well, and if anybody want to check you out, they can look you up also, Google you, of course, and you can see all the stuff that you've done, because there's so many things here. And I'm so honored that you're my first guest on my YouTube channel.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I sometimes do movies, and movies are also funny because you're working on a scene that has the overall sound but doesn't have your actual sound. And so the last movie I did was 3 years ago, and the first scene was somebody gets cut to pieces with a machete or something in the trunk of a car, and I had to make the music for that scene. But it came out good. I mean, it came out better for the music than for the guy in the trunk, but it was fun to do anyway.
Well, what about a horror album?
I've been thinking about that. The problem is, my music can be sad. My music can be melancholic. My music can be hard sometimes, but I don't buy the horror stuff enough to really go down to it. It's, to me, sounds too corny. For me, doesn't mean that people who do it don't do it well, for the people who do it, but for me it sounds corny because I don't buy it 100%.
Yeah,
I just want the track to finish nicely. Like if I do a track and I would be imagining in my head somebody lost, I don't know, in the basement or whatever. You can bet your ass that the last part of the song is going to be an uplifting chorus, and that yes, he or she goes out of the basement alive, and that's not what people want. So,
that kind of horror, like slasher type.
I don't know.
Horror.
I mean, yeah. What other kind of horror were you thinking?
Oh, there's ghost story horror. There's that kind of horror. There's yeah. Well, that's like like the murder ballads are horror. Like Nick Cave's murder ballads. That's horror. That's a slasher type of horror, and you find them in the river.
Yeah, but
Like,
no, I was thinking more really
Yeah.
extreme stuff. But I don't watch horror anyway, and so
Yeah. Well, I love the melancholy stuff you do as well. That's that gets to me. Melancholy stuff.
I understand.
Well, thank you so much for coming on my show. Anything else we want to talk about and mention? Find you again is jmlederman.com. And I'm looking forward to the album. And so don't disconnect. I'm gonna stop the recording here, and then I'm gonna just. Okay, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anyway, I really appreciate. And I hope people will check what I've done before and what I do now, and especially the album with Emileigh, which is really quite something.
Yes, very much so. I'm looking forward to that as well.
Thank
Okay,
you.
one moment. Okay, I'm gonna thank you.